Z88.3, 1025. I am Dan. So happy to have Zach Williams in the studio with me today. And I want to say welcome home. And the reason I say that is I know you were born in Florida.
I was, yeah.
Didn't spend a lot of time here. You moved to Arkansas.
But I was born here, so I can call it my home state.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
awesome.
that. Now, you had a pretty idyllic life growing up
Yeah.
there in Arkansas. Tell me a little bit about your time as a child.
Yeah, I grew up in church. My dad was a worship leader, so Sundays, Wednesdays, church practice, things like that. It was always church. Everything kind of surrounded around and revolved around church, and so have an amazing family.
Awesome. They
were really, influential in my life as far as planting that seed at an early age. And I know I talk about them a lot. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if they hadn't, because I wouldn't have known that when I ran off and did my thing, that there was a God that was still pursuing me and that I could run back to. And so
when did that turn start to take place? Your songs are about rescue and redemption. When did that turn in your life?
Yeah, so I moved to college to play basketball when I was 18, and I messed my ankle up my first year, and so I had to sit out my first season. And obviously I didn't have my life together. I was partying a lot with friends and stuff like that, and then I ended up picking up my roommate's guitar my first year in school, and I couldn't play sports, so I was trying to find something to do with all my time, and I ended up teaching myself how to play the guitar. And I took a creative writing class the next semester, and I started writing poetry and trying to write my own songs. And I was living this party life, and I thought if I can get good enough at playing music and writing songs, I could be a rock star, because I got the party thing down. And so honestly, for the next probably 15 years of my life, I just lived that life thinking that this is how you had to be and how you had to act and what you had to do to be a musician. And so I got kind of deep in it for a long time. And in 2012, I was getting ready to leave for Europe. I was in a band, and we were going to be gone for a month playing some shows. And we were playing all of our shows in Spain, and my wife kind of told me before we left, she was like, look, if you don't make some changes, like, not sticking around. Like,
that's a wake-up call.
Yeah,
right there.
and so she we had 3 kids at that time and had a little girl on the way, and she was pretty much like, if you don't change, like, I'm leaving.
Yeah, and that ultimatum, I mean, you get sometimes something that's that important in your life that gets threatened. That'll make you see a new light.
Yeah, and
I want to talk to you a little bit about that when we come back
Sure.
for our next segment, about how that turned into your career in Christian
Absolutely.
music. All right, Zach Williams is our guest today. We will be back with him in just a few minutes. We're talking with Zach Williams today, who is in the studio with us. Last break, we talked about how you got that ultimatum from the wife.
Yeah.
Things have got to change. You were on a bus and something happened. What was that?
We were touring across Spain, and I was reading a book. I was listening to a headset, and I took my headphones off, closed my book. I was staring out the window of the bus, just driving down the highway. And I remember the day before I had prayed, like, God, if you're real, prove it.
Yeah.
Show me something. Like, and if you can show me, I'll walk away from this. And as we were driving 8 hours across Spain, a guy driving our bus was scanning radio stations, and it stops on Big Daddy Weave's Redeemed.
Wow.
And I hear the lyrics to this song, and I'm like, what? And so I go to my room, I listen to this song over and over, look up the lyrics, and I just realized in that moment, like, all my years, growing up in church as a kid, I'd missed it. Like, I had this idea or vision or version of who I thought God was, and I thought he just, sat on his throne all day with his arms crossed, shaking his head at everything Zach did wrong.
Right.
I didn't understand how much he loved me. I didn't understand that he saw me in a way I'd never seen myself. And I remember calling Crystal and saying, hey, I'm coming home. I'm done. And she was like, what?
Yeah.
And so when I came home from that tour, I remember June 10th, 2012, she was taking our kids to school, and when everybody left the house and everything was quiet, I walked into our closet. I cleared the shoes out in our floor and got on my hands and knees and just said, God, can you save me? And that was the moment, and I'd grown up in church my whole life, been to church camps, done all the things, but at that time, 33 years old, I knew. I was like,
it all clicked.
This was the moment.
Yeah.
And, we never looked back. We found a church, and within a year of going to this church that we were going to, I helped them launch a campus and took a part-time job as a worship leader. And
that's awesome. And you know what amazes me is here in Christian radio, we always talk about the right song at the right time. That person will hear that song, hear those lyrics, and that's the turning point.
Yeah.
That was your right song at the right time.
It was. I mean, because out of that season, I was writing songs, leading worship at church. I got invited to Nashville to write some music, and I think my second or third trip over to Tennessee, wrote a song called Chainbreaker with some friends. And
Yeah.
It was one of those songs that, like, you're in the room. It was a Friday. I was ready to go home. I'd written songs all week. I had no ideas left. I was like, this is going to be a bust. Like, I don't know what to do. And I told my story to the two folks I was writing with, and Mia Fields, one of the writers, she said, you need to write a song called Chainbreaker. And I was like, huh. And nobody had any lyrics or anything, and Jonathan, my producer, started playing the piano, and as soon as he did, I just said, if you've been walking the same old road for miles and miles, and they all kind of looked at me like, what was that? And I was like, I don't know. It just came out. And it was really like, that was one of those songs that kind of wrote itself in like 15 minutes. It was like God just showed up, took the pen and paper, wrote that song for us, and, you know.
Let's play that song.
All right.
I think that would be a good way to end this segment. Zach Williams, Chainbreaker, and we'll be back to talk with Zach in a few minutes. Zach Williams is my guest today. We're talking about the fact that you played basketball and standing next to you in front of the step and repeat over there. I'm 6 foot tall. How tall are you? 6'6". Oh, I got to turn on your microphone. Six foot 6. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe 6'7" with these cowboy boots, but yeah.
You got a full head on me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, we're talking about redemption and talking about how the song from Big Daddy Weave was the turning point. And then you've got songs like Rescue Story. And now you've done some work in the prisons where you're trying to redeem those in prisons. How does that work out?
Man, it's just one of those things that it was, you know, my wife actually is another, you know, behind every good man there's a good woman. So my wife is responsible for so many things that happen in my life that are good. But when we first started going to this church that we were going to, they had a prison ministry, and it was a women's prison, and they would go down and speak. And so my wife, one Sunday, tells me that she's going, you know, signed us up to go. And I was like, whoa, like, hang on. I was like, I tried to stay out of prison my whole life. I'm not, you know, I'm not going now. And she was like, well, I'm going to go and share my testimony. And my wife has an amazing story. And so she goes and she comes home from this prison trip, and she tells me, she's like, this was like the most awesome thing I've ever been a part of. She said, the next time I go, you're going.
Okay.
And you're taking your guitar, and you're going to play some of these songs that you're writing. And so that was my kind of aha moment. This was before Chainbreaker, before anything. I was writing some Christian music, but, you know, nothing had really ever kind of taken off with it. But we went in and shared our story in this prison, and I played this song that I'd written called Wash Clean that ended up being on my first album. And at the end of it, I had my eyes closed. I was playing this song. We were giving an invitation. And we look up, and there were like 35 women on their hands and knees giving their lives to the Lord. Wow. And I was like, whoa, like I couldn't even finish the song. And I feel like in that moment, God was just like, Zach, if you need an aha moment, here it is. Like, this is the places, the people, the songs. This is what I want you to do. And so when I got my record deal and moved to Tennessee and started playing more music and meeting more people, we met this organization called Men of Valor there in Tennessee. And they do a lot of really cool work in prison reform. And so they partnered with me, and I told them I wanted to go in and make a record in a prison. And so they kind of pulled some strings and got us in, and we went in and set up for about 6 hours one day with video cameras and audio, and played these songs just over and over. And the last time we played them, we were like, okay, we're going to record the record now.
Yeah.
And we put lyrics up on the wall, and just what we captured was just as authentic. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And you go in hoping to be a blessing, and I felt like I got the blessing.
That's
it was like
awesome.
so cool to see guys, finding freedom in prison. So it's just, it's one of those things, like, it's just what I feel like God's called me to do.
180 degrees from that.
Yeah,
Dolly
absolutely.
Parton.
Yeah, Dolly Parton.
Thank you for bringing Dolly Parton to
Yeah.
Christian radio. I started in Christian radio 4 years ago. I've been playing Dolly Parton since 1982 when I started in radio. Yeah. And that was a familiar voice for me. So that was like a welcome to Christian music. How did that work out?
My wife.
Okay.
That was another thing. I'm telling you.
She's a common theme in your life.
I come home with that demo, and I play a lot of my demos at dinner after I come home from a songwrite, and I'm playing this song for my wife, and there was a girl that sang a BGV on the demo.
Okay.
And she kind of resembled Dolly's voice.
Oh, wow.
And so my wife is like listening to it, and she was like, you should get Dolly to sing on that. I was like, oh, okay. you want me to call her? Like, I don't have it. I was like, you're serious? And she was like, yeah. And so I tell my record label the same thing, and they kind of laugh at me like, oh, yeah, sure. And I was like, no, I'm serious. And so we took a couple of months to find out how to get it to her and who to get it to. And we got her the song, and she told me, she said, the day I got this song, she said, I never even got through the chorus.
Wow.
And I knew it was special, knew I wanted to be a part of it, and kind of started a friendship that I thought I would never have, And so she's been super kind and super cool to me. She's invited me to be a part of her Christmas movie a couple of years ago.
She's a treasure. I mean, you can't go wrong.
She's on a new song with me now, and so it's just like
that's awesome.
It's wild. So
that's amazing. Quickly, Zach Williams Backyard Picnic coming to Apopka on July 27th. That's a Saturday. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited
fun.
that you're coming to town.
Yeah, that's it's going to be a fun little thing. It's kind of a new, we've done the meet and greets on the tour, which is like a pre-show VIP dinner, but this is going to be a little different setting, a little more relaxed.
Yeah.
We'll have some kind of backyard games and some hang time with all the fans, and I think my band will be out there and some of the guys that are on the tour with me. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
We'll come find you in July.
Right.
Zach Williams, everybody. Thank you, Zach, for stopping by and spending some time with us this morning
Appreciate it.
here on the Z. Good
Thank you,
talking
guys.
with you.